Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. Today is 8th of August. Now it's 1 o'clock, middle of the day by Moscow time. And thank you all, dear friends, for joining this relatively later stream for today. But, days are not that active news-wise anyways. But nevertheless, I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments that Russian media and public is paying attention to. And I hope you will find this episode informative and useful. And if so, dear friends, please click that like button and leave some commentary. It might help to deal with the algorithm, especially on YouTube, where my channel is in shadow ban since forever, and it is very difficult to develop channel on that platform. But anyways, let's focus on main thinker. After news segment, dear friends, I will be engaged in a community chat for a little while. Let's have an exchange of opinions in real time. And so, yes, that's being said, let's start this stream now. News segment of it, and of course, main topic all over the world at this point probably is upcoming alleged meeting that should take place between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin in upcoming days. Although, dear friends, first of all, let me notice that today Trump's ultimatum is expiring. Today is the last day of Trump's ultimatum, and he did not backtrack on his own threats towards Russia. And he was asked by reporters if his ultimatum is still in force, and he answered positively on that. Let me give you a short clip of his statement.
Vladimir Putin agreeing to a ceasefire still stand tomorrow? Or is that fluid now that talks
Say
are?
it, what?
Is your deadline still standing for Vladimir Putin to agree to a ceasefire tomorrow, or is that fluid now?
It's going to be up to him.
And do you,
We're going to see what he has to say. It's going to be up to him. Very disappointed. Yeah.
So you see, he continues to talk about how disappointed he is, and this is happening after news broke. By the way, after news broke that meeting has been agreed between the two presidents and administrations of U.S. president and Russian presidents actually are working right now to organize this meeting, right? But nevertheless, yesterday afternoon, he had yet another conversation with the journalists, and you hear what he said, isn't it? He was not really diplomatic. What he meant that it's up to Putin, I have no idea. He expects that Putin will call him and beg about, I don't know, ultimatum to be revoked or what he's talking about. I have no idea. But yes, today ultimatum is expiring, and you know my take on the situation, dear friends. I don't believe that either Trump or anybody from his administration is genuine when it comes to talks with the Russian side and the de-escalation. They are not seeking de-escalation. I'm quite sure about it. They are engaged in a deception operation, and therefore I expect a unprecedented scale of escalation instead of de-escalation that media is talking about. Then some experts, I expect our next phase of escalation on unprecedented scale, as a result of which Moscow will most likely retaliate not just on military and logistical infrastructure of the Kiev regime, but on potentially on military assets of countries, NATO countries, that will be directly engaged in this next phase of escalation. And I don't believe there will be any meeting, by the way, between Trump and Putin. Personally, I don't believe this meeting will take place. It makes no sense whatsoever to me personally to have a meeting with Trump at this point when nothing except aggression and provocations are coming from the U.S. leadership or the U.S. or the collective West for that matter. But we will find out. Let me give you some more news, and as you know, dear friends, news about meeting and Trump initially was announced by aide of Russian President Yuri Ushakov, and he stated that two sides already are working to organize this meeting, potentially in upcoming days. Next week was mentioned, although New York Post yesterday come up with a claim that Trump is demanding, allegedly, yet again, I mean, whenever we are using Western so-called media as a source, probably we always have to use the word allegedly, because they cannot be trusted, right? Nevertheless, New York Post come up with a claim that Trump intends to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin only if Russian leader also meets with Zelensky. White House official tell this outlet that Putin must meet with Zelensky for a meeting with Trump to occur. No location has been set, and well, this is already, if true, by the way, this is already indicator that no meeting between Trump and Putin will take place. Although later on, Trump himself was asked about this alleged demand that he has, that Putin has to meet with Zelensky, and he answered that no, he did not come up with such a demand. So we have this report from RIA Novosti that says contacts between Moscow and Kiev will not be Washington's condition for a meeting between the presidents of Russia and United States. American leader Donald Trump told reporters at the White House, and I can give you a short video of that statement too, dear friends.
Putin have to meet with Zelensky in order and before you and Putin have to meet? Or are you
No.
Are you
So you're willing to? That's actually important because President Putin said this morning he was pretty dismissive of this idea of meeting with President
Who was?
Zelensky. President Putin was.
I don't know. I didn't hear
For you
him.
to meet with him, he doesn't have to agree to meet with Zelensky. Is that what you're saying?
No, he doesn't. No.
So he said himself that he has no such demand that Putin necessarily have to meet with Zelensky, then to meet with him. Okay, we have a answer from Trump himself, although, by the way, speculations are obviously going to continue, because nowadays, no matter what anybody says from U.S. leadership, their statements always going to be taken with mountain of salt. Today, Trump might said that, well, I have no demands that Putin should meet with Zelensky. Tomorrow, he might actually come up with exactly the opposite statement, that first Putin should meet Zelensky, or there should be trilateral meeting or something. So quite a chaotic situation in this regard. And by the way, we have a report from TASS news agency about potential place where meeting between Trump and Putin going to take place, meeting that I don't believe will even happen, but TASS news agency believes in that, and they reported that meeting between Russian and US President Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump might take place in one of the Arab countries. A source told their TASS news agency, and I can have a sort of informed guess which Arab country TASS source is talking about. I reminded you, friends, that yesterday Russian president had a meeting with the leader of UAE, United Arab Emirates, and at one point when two leaders were exchanging opinions, journalists dropped the question about a place where a meeting might take place, and Putin said that, well, Russia has many friends that can actually organize such a meeting, can actually host such a meeting, and he also pointed to his colleague from United Arab Emirates as one of their friends that actually can host such a meeting. And therefore, I assume, if, despite my skepticism, but if such a meeting will take place, probably it will be United Arab Emirates. Let's see, by the way. Let's see. But when it comes to topic of Putin-Zelensky's meeting, Russian president once again was asked about this matter also, and he repeated himself. Basically, he stated what he had said many times before, and his aides also. So Russian President Vladimir Putin has said he could potentially hold face-to-face talks with Ukraine's Vladimir Zelensky, but only if Moscow and Kyiv reach progress on a diplomatic settlement. That's it. This position of Russian leader have not changed ever, right? That was Moscow's position always, and I don't think we should expect any actual settlement or significant progress when it comes to Ukrainian crisis or anytime soon. So therefore, I just see no even theoretical possibility Russian president to meet with Zelensky. With the Trump, maybe such a meeting will take place because of the Trump's personality. He loves to be in the spotlight, right? And meeting with Vladimir Putin will definitely be a major breaking news, sort of. Whole world's media will pay attention to it, and Trump loves that. But will such a meeting be a success, or will such a meeting resolve in any actual progress? I don't think so, and that's why I'm skeptical, because Putin himself, while commenting about Zelensky, said that, well, meeting can happen. He has no issues with a face-to-face meeting, but only if there is a certain agreements in place already. If experts between the two sides organized certain agreements, and then obviously it will make sense if president of Russia and the leader of this Western backed terrorist regime of Zelensky will meet and, let's say, formalize the agreement. Although even in that case, by the way, I remind you that Russian side was very vocal that topic of Zelensky's legitimacy has to be resolved. There can be no questions about legitimacy of the person who will sign on any agreement between Moscow and Kyiv. Right, and I think a Russian leader would or should have a similar approach when it comes to meeting with Trump, because I mean, if experts from two sides, from US and Russia, did not actually manage to finalize any agreement, then what two presidents gonna talk about? What is the point in such a meeting? They're gonna discuss what? Weather patterns on Mercury, or what? Usually, leaders are meeting when agreements already been reached, right? And leaders just are formalizing these agreements. That was the case always, and that should be the case always, right? They are too busy, or supposed to be too busy, to waste time just for some casual meetings. But nevertheless, Russian president is quite clear on the topic of Zelensky, who is very upset, by the way, and very angry. He made his traditional video address to whomever yesterday, and he was furious, kind of, because Europe could be left out of these talks that might take place between Trump and Putin. And it's not just Zelensky, by the way. His European masters, or his globalist masters and globalist controlled regimes in Europe, are also, seems like, are not happy about these latest developments, that maybe Russian and US presidents will have a meeting and will discuss Ukrainian crisis, for example, or something. But yet again, what is the point on discussing the subject? It makes no sense whatsoever. There was too much discussion on this matter anyways, right? To me personally, meeting of two leaders only makes sense if certain agreements gonna be finalized. But it does not seem that this is the case, right? At least for now. Maybe we don't know something. Maybe behind the closed doors, representatives of US and Russia were working hard to actually reach certain agreements, and maybe if such a meeting between Trump and Putin will take place, we will hear announcements of those agreements. That can be, right? That's a possibility for sure, but still I'm skeptical, by the way. Nevertheless, questions arise. Who come up with this initiative to have a meeting, Trump or Putin, US side or Russian side, and aide of Russian President Yuri Ushakov was asked about it, and well, he said quite directly that there was a proposal from the American side, which we think is quite acceptable. So it was basically Trump and his team that initiated this to work on a meeting of the two presidents, and Russian side agreed. Okay. But dear friends, if you notice behavior, if you pay attention to behavior of either Trump or his team, they are acting as if it was Russia that was asking for a meeting, right? And Western propaganda outlets are also trying to create this false narrative that, well, it's Russia that is asking for a meeting, and US has certain demands such a meeting to take place, including, as I already mentioned, meeting between Putin and Zelensky. But in reality, Russia didn't ask for nothing. It was American side that contacted Russian side and asked for a meeting between the two presidents. That's how it is. That's what Ushakov said, by the way. Just a nuance that will answer to the questions that are circulating on internet last 24 to 48 hours. Also, dear friends, let me give you this quite interesting news that Pentagon changes the rules for providing weapons to Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky. And details are that the Pentagon amended its policy in July, giving their agency the right to return weapons intended to Ukraine back to US stockpiles. CNN reports, citing sources who have reviewed the memo by US Undersecretary of Defense for Political Military Affairs, Elbridge Colby, which he wrote last month. Department of Defense has their option to return certain weapons to equipment destined for Ukraine back to US stockpiles, a radical move that could result in billions of dollars previously allocated to Ukraine being diverted to replenish dwindling US stockpiles, the statement said. And well, I think this is quite interesting news in the terms that if somehow, if by miracle, Washington is actually genuine, US leadership is actually genuine, which I don't believe, but if, and in case Washington and Moscow will actually reach some agreements and de-escalation will happen, and if US will begin actually pulling out from this proxy war against Russia that globalists and their Western elites are waging, then this information in that case actually will make sense because all the weapons that are already being allocated for Kiev regime then will be returned to US militaries, and they will have a legal basis for that. So let's see. Also, RT is reporting that vast majority of Ukrainians now want peace talks, allegedly, right? This is information from Gallup institution. The vast majority of the Ukrainians now support ending the conflict with Russia through peace negotiations rather than a continued fighting, according to a new survey released on Thursday by the US-based polling firm Gallup. The poll found that 69% of respondents favor negotiated settlement to the war, a sharp reversal from 2022 when 73%, by the way, said Ukraine should fight until victory. And well, if numbers are correct, by the way, if numbers are correct, then it is truly sharp reversal, isn't it? In 2022, 73% of these brainwashed elements on Kiev-controlled territory was all about war, all about fighting, how delusional they were, by the way. I mean, you tell me. And now, in 2025, 69% of very same elements seems like at least wake up a little bit, right? And now they are for peace settlement. Okay. Quite a dramatic shift there. And dear friends, before I continue with some more news, let me let me notice that this media project is completely subscriber funded, as many of you know, which means that this project is exist only as long as I have your support, community support. And so if you like my work, if you would like to see further development of this project, where this project will go, please consider to support. You can do it through several means. You can donate through to this project through PayPal or Boosty platforms. You can subscribe to my Patreon or Boosty pages, where I have extra content on regular basis, extra exclusive content on regular basis. So you can use crypto for support, and during the live streams, by the way, right now, for example, and during any other live stream, because I'm streaming on the two platforms simultaneously, on YouTube and Rumble on my channels, you can use a super chat feature on Rumble to donate and to highlight any question or the topic that you are interested in. And also you can become a premium subscriber on Rumble, because yet again, my channel is monetized there and will never be monetized on YouTube. All the links are on this video description box, just in case, and will be in a pinned comment after the stream. Many thanks to everybody who supported and continues to support and keeps me in this field of news and political commentary. Truly grateful, dear friends. It's a unique opportunity to be here. And my hope is that I'm good. I'm doing something good, by the way. I'm useful for our community. That's been said, dear friends, let's continue with some more news and Middle East now. We have a statement from Netanyahu, who said that he intends to establish full control over over the Gaza, and later on, media began reporting that Israel's security cabinet has approved Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's plans to seize Gaza City. His office announced on X on Friday, so we should expect a further escalation in the Gaza Strip instead of de-escalation. And unfortunately, on a daily basis, we are receiving more and more news, more and more indicators that Netanyahu's regime actually plans to force out all survivors of Israeli genocide out of the Gaza Strip. That's what their intention is, by the way. And if they are successful in that, if world community would not be able to stop this massacre of innocent people and these war crimes that Israel is committing, then there can be no doubts that, in short, Israel will do the same in the West Bank. And after that, Israel will try to do the same in Lebanon, to occupy at least southern parts of the Lebanon. And no other neighboring country with Israel will be safe, because we all know that these genocidal maniacs that are in charge of Israel are dreaming about some greater Israel project, right? And if successful, by the way, they will genocide people all over the region and will take territories from literally all the neighbors. Also, let me share with you this statement that Trump made, by the way, which is connected to our Middle East. So on his Truth Social, I believe, he posted that now that the nuclear arsenal being created by Iran has been totally obliterated. And look, by the way, U.S. president is not shying away to lie, and to lie this openly. Iran never had no nuclear arsenal, no nuclear stockpiles, no nuclear weapons. What Trump is talking about? This is, I mean, truly embarrassing. Someone should take care of Trump's postings, by the way, on his Truth Social network, because he's embarrassing not just himself, but he's embarrassing US big time with these absolutely nonsensical statements. But nevertheless, let's go to what he had to say. So now that nuclear arsenal being created by Iran has been totally obliterated, it is very important to me that all Middle Eastern countries join the Abraham Accords. This will ensure peace in the Middle East. Thank you for your attention to this matter, Trump said. And yet again, you tell me what you are making of these statements. I don't think that many countries in the Middle East are going to join this Abraham recorder, and I don't think until Israel is there militarized and denazified, there will be peace in that part of this world. It's just not possible. It's simply not possible. That's how it is, and Trump's statements actually don't really change much, right? But yet again, it is embarrassing that he's lying this openly, by the way, and don't even shying away. I mean, maybe he actually believes in this nonsense that he says on a regular basis. I don't know, but something is wrong with him. That's for sure. And by the way, I just said that until Israel will be demilitarized, fascist Israel, by the way, let's be clear on that. Israel is an apartheid fascist state, right? That is engaged in a genocide and is a main threat for stability in the Middle East. It's just obvious fact. And on that very matter, I can give you this report that Hezbollah, Lebanese-based political and military group Hezbollah, criticized Lebanese government, Western-controlled Lebanese government, by the way, for a decision to disarm the group, to disarm Hezbollah. Let me give you some details on that. So Lebanese Shiite movement Hezbollah is unhappy with the Lebanese government's decision to grant the right to possess weapons only to army, thereby depriving the group of weapons. The Al Arabiya TV channel reports. And by the way, this is a big deal. This is a big deal because yesterday when I see these reports were coming from Lebanon that government is actually escalating with the Hezbollah, Western-controlled and Israeli-controlled government of that country, first thing that come to my mind was, is Lebanon on a brink of civil war? And I'm afraid the answer is positive. Answer is yes. Lebanon is on the brink of a civil war. That's exactly what Israel wants. That's exactly what Zionists want, and their allies among neocons and globalists. I will argue. And one might only hope that somehow Lebanese people will stand strong and will not allow hostile forces, including their own compromised government, to provoke civil war on a sectarian line, which would be total devastation for Lebanon. And they know it perfectly well, by the way. Lebanon was experiencing for many years civil war, and it was a total devastation, right? If anybody benefited from that, that was Israel and Israeli allies, not the Lebanese people. And now, this country is again on a brink of civil war. It seems to me, and some might say, what is wrong if only Lebanese army is in the right to possess weapons. And point is that Lebanese army is a joke, by the way, right? Lebanese government is a joke, controlled by whomever, but not by Lebanese people. And you think if government of that country is compromised and controlled by outside forces, then you think army of Lebanon is not the same case? When you last time see a Lebanese army defended Lebanon from, let's say, Israeli attacks? When you last time see Lebanese so-called army defending country and the people of Lebanon from Israeli aggression? Never. They are operating as a proxy of the Israel, and they are very hostile towards the Hezbollah. Only force in Lebanon that actually fighting to defend the people there. That's the truth, by the way. Let's continue with some more news. And it seems like U.S. leadership, by the way, high-ranking officials in U.S. cannot live even a single day without bragging about anything. They just need to brag about something, right? And for example, head of Pentagon, Pete Hegseth, went on a TV, Fox News, to brag about how tough they are and how ready to wage a total war against anybody, and how they're gonna obliterate this universe and every other universe in this multiverse, right? And let me give you a video of that, dear friends. I'm sharing this just to highlight how inadequate these people really are, that formally being put in the charge of US. In reality, of course, strings, some other forces, shadow groups are pulling the strings. But these people like Trump, Exeter, Rubio, and the rest, they represent US, right? They are frontmans, kind of. And they are total embarrassment, man. Just listen what her Hexet has to say.
By the way, is that something we should expect? Secretary of Defense, Secretary of War, Department of Defense, Department of War?
Well, that's what it was for many, many years. You gave me that knife hand, Will. We'll see. Stand by. I don't get in front of the commander-in-chief on that. But our job is to ensure our enemies know exactly what they will do to them if they threaten us, up to and including total war. So we'll be prepared. Stand by. There might be some news on that.
Okay. All right. Thanks for teaching me what a knife hand is. It's a great way to make
Total war.
I've got
Total war, by the way. Head of Pentagon, by the way, is talking about total war, right? He's formally, yet again, is leading armed forces that have no freaking idea what a high-intensity conflict is, let alone total war. But as I said, they have to brag about something. They have to brag about something, and it seems like they don't really care what is the topic that they are bragging about. It's sickening, by the way. It's just not normal, for God's sake. They are embarrassing US. That's what it is, man. They might don't care about themselves and their reputation, but for God's sake, I mean, you are insulting 300 million people, right? Your fellow citizens, while acting this crazy. What the hell, man? Be a little more serious. I mean, it's not that difficult. But anyways, what you gonna do, man? That's the people that we have to deal with. And can you imagine how difficult the negotiation is gonna be with these morons? I can understand that. Well, Russian president, he's a statesman, right? I think with all sorts of people that he might like or don't like. But when you are communicating with someone that is intellectual, at least, right? It is a possibility that you would reach some agreements. But when you are talking to freaking morons, chances that you would actually succeed in negotiations is next to zero, by the way. Am I correct? Few more news, dear friends, for this news segment. Yet again, I mean, as I said, I don't know what is wrong with U.S. administration. Why these leaders of the U.S. are acting this crazy? But they do. And for example, we have this report now. The U.S. Attorney General Bondi is offering a 50 million reward for information leading to the arrest of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. So, you know what, if I will write to Washington that, you know what, I know something about Maduro, I mean, he's a kind of president there in Venezuela, they're going to give me 50 million or what? What this information even means? I watched the video, by the way, when Bondi was, bragging about how tough they are and how they're going to pursue Maduro and all that kind of stuff. But yet again, what the hell, man? You know who Maduro is, where he is. You know everything about Maduro, probably better than Maduro himself remembers, right? And you are coming up with this faking nonsense that you're going to award 50 million to anybody that gives you some information that will lead to arrest of Maduro. What's going on in the US, dear friends? You tell me. But, I mean, whole world probably is laughing at this point, because how else are you going to react on that? I don't know. And this is not all. Let me give you some more, dear friends. Secretary of Treasury, or Treasury Secretary of US, also began bragging about that trillions and trillions of manufacturing coming back to the US over the next couple of years. Okay, I believe I have a video when Bassett was talking about this stuff. Let me find. It's a crazy, by the way. It's just crazy, but it is what it is. That's the video.
Commitments both from governments and from corporates. Tim Cook was in the Oval yesterday. Apple had committed $500 billion of new plant and equipment in the U.S. He's up to $600 billion, and he wants to make Apple an American company in terms of manufacturing, not just design. We've seen Micron Technologies. They were in visiting this week. They're going to put in $200 billion. So we've got trillions and trillions of manufacturing that's going to come back, and we're going to see that over the next couple of years.
Trillions going to come back. Yeah, man. Of course. And yes, that's the people that are in charge there, formally. Yet again, we all understand that in reality, they're influential forces from shadow are pulling the strings, and these people are just the frontmen, right? Talking heads, let's say. But nevertheless, they represent US, isn't it? They represent US, and their people are watching this stuff and they are asking questions. What the hell is going on? Isn't it? In reality, dear friends, according to Moody's, which is a Western rating agency, isn't it? No one can blame Moody's for being either anti-American or anti-Western or pro-Russian or pro-Chinese or something, right? And Moody's, top expert of the Moody's, is claiming that U.S. economy actually on the brink of recession. That's how bad situation is in U.S. economy. And these people like Trump himself and Bessent and others are bragging about trillions and trillions that are allegedly gonna come to US, but will never come. Because from where, for God's sake, aliens gonna do this? Because this world definitely is in no mood to invest trillions and trillions into US economy. Maximum what US can hope for is to further accelerate the industrialization of Europe and to force European companies to move, or the companies from the collective West to move their manufacturing capabilities into US. That's maximum, I guess, what they might hope for. But rest of the world is busy building multipolar world, right? And it would be better if US will stop messing around and will actually join this process of building multipolar world, I think. Anyways, a few more news, dear friends. And you know what? I noticed here a question from I lost it or what? It's not question time yet, but David King commented, Levan, why reporter on West fake news, sir? And David point is that Russian media is paying attention to it, isn't it? My reporting is based basically on the topics that Russian media and public is paying attention to, and we do pay attention to these developments because, yet again, I mean, U.S. may not be in its best shape, but it's still a major economical and nuclear powerhouse, right? And whatever is happening in U.S. has influence usually on the rest of the world. So, like it or not, but we have to pay attention to it. That's the reason. That's the reason. If U.S. was not that important, okay, but U.S. is important still. And as I said, dear friends, few more news. And Europe now. Let me go in Europe. So I'm going to show you, dear friends, quite ironic, funny and ironic video. Ursula Bursula washing machine. So Ursula von der Leyen, European Commission president, was in Finland, I believe. And during her speech, people were shouting some stuff. and she was upset about it, and she claimed that at least they are living in a free society, free country, where they can say whatever they want without being bragged by police or jailed. And she was referring, for whatever reason, to Russia, right? They're always gonna attack Russia, always. And you know what happened after these words? It took literally like 5 to 10 seconds, by the way. And one of the persons that was shouting something was tackled and by police and taken away. Let me give you a video. I mean, it will explain better. It's funny and ironic at the same time. Just
receiving me. And first of all, to those who scream and yell here so loud, they can be happy that they are in a free country like Finland, where the free speech is a right, where they have not any restrictions. If they would be in Moscow, they would be in jail in 2 minutes. Thank God we have a democracy. Thank God we have free speech.
You see, dear friends, it only took like 5 to 10 seconds, by the way, and this person was taken away. That's the European values that these unelected bureaucrats from Brussels are allowed to talk about. That's the European values, isn't it? And they are attacking Russia. I mean, they are attacking Russia, by the way, and they are blaming on Russia practically everything that they do themselves. And I mean, you don't have to go any further than, I mean, just look at that video, by the way. Such a clear demonstration what EU has become, or what Europe has become. Fake, by the way, totally fake world, right? Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. And I believe I do have either 1 or 2 more news that I want to share. So, well, this is important. RT is reporting that Trump to secure key transit route in Armenia-Azerbaijan deal. This is Southern Caucasus region, by the way. So, U.S. President Donald Trump plans to obtain exclusive U.S. development rights to a strategic South Caucasus transit route during upcoming meeting with Azerbaijan and Armenia leaders at the White House, Reuters has reported, citing officials. And I think this topic is about Zangezur corridor that connects mainland Azerbaijan with the Nakhichevan Autonomous Republic, Nakhichevan Autonomous region of the Azerbaijan is that isolated from the mainland. From one side it's Turkey, from other side it's Armenia, right? And Azerbaijan is trying hard for quite a while, since forever basically, to establish control over their land bridge that is called Zangezur corridor, so that Nakhichevan will be connected with Azerbaijan. And earlier there was reports that Washington intends to put certain U.S. companies, I guess private businesses and their private military companies, in charge of Zangezur corridor. Even though Armenia denied it, that there is such negotiations in a place. But now we have this report that U.S. gonna mediate between the two countries, and they're gonna establish direct or indirect, but control over this corridor. Armenia and neighboring Azerbaijan, both former Soviet republics, have been locked in a decades-long territorial dispute over their breakaway region of Nagorno-Karabakh since the late 1980s. Baku regained control over their predominantly ethnic Armenian populated territory in 2023 as a result of military operation. Trump has announced that Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev and Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan will join him for a trilateral summit and sign a peace deal in the White House on Friday, that is today, by the way. According to Reuters, the peace framework will include exclusive and long-lasting U.S. development rights to a major transit corridor through the Southern Caucasus. It will be named the Trump route for international peace and prosperity. The agency wrote on Thursday, citing anonymous sources, the trip will be operated, TRIPP, that's the name of this thing, in Trump's imagination, will be operated according to Armenian law, and the U.S. will sublet their land to Consortium for Management, Reuters, said Baku previously proposed creating a Zangezur corridor through Armenia's Syunik province to connect the Azerbaijani exclave of Nakhichevan with which borders Turkey to mainland Azerbaijan. Yerevan resisted their idea, and well, let's see what will come out of today's meeting between these sides. I'm skeptical that Trump or US will actually manage to de-escalate between Azerbaijan and Armenia. Maybe sides will sign up on some papers, on some agreements, but I don't think these two countries are on a trajectory of peace. I think it's exactly the opposite, and it's not just these two countries, but we should keep in mind that in the region, other powers are involved, from Israel and Iran to US, UK, and France, right? Nothing to be said about Russia, that has a military presence in Armenia, at least for now, right? And formally, Armenia is still counted as a strategic partner of the Russian Federation, although behaves Yerevan not so as a strategic partner. But nevertheless, if Trump will succeed somehow to actually achieve the escalation between the two, that will be good result, by the way, and I would not back away to applaud success if they will be success, right? I will acknowledge it and applaud successful negotiations, but I have no indicators to be optimistic in this regard yet. Let's see, time will tell. And dear friends, I will end our news segment on this news that Trump's tariffs wipe out $12 billion from global car makers. So 14 global automakers have suffered nearly $12 billion in losses since the rollout of US President Donald Trump's trade tariffs, and are expected to lose significantly more by the end of the year, the Wall Street Journal reports. And why anybody had any other expectations, I would only ask. Trump announced their new tariffs in April, targeting 185 countries and territories. A universal 10% tariff on all imported vehicles and parts took effect on April 5th, followed by country special rates on April 9. And as I said, dear friends, I can see what US is trying to achieve. They want to reindustrialize themselves, right? And seems like only way or quickest way that they come up with is to begin these tariff wars, sanction wars, and so on. Although instead of focusing on certain areas in this world where they can be successful, mainly that is collective West countries, Europe to be more precise, for whatever reason, Washington began waging war on the whole world. And because of this fundamental mistake, fundamental flaw in their strategy, I don't think they're going to succeed now. I don't think they're going to succeed. They will harm U.S. economy much bigger way than they will gain anything, right? If they were focused mainly on the Western world, that's a different story. I mean, they could actually further accelerate, and they will accelerate, process of the industrialization in Europe. And where these manufacturers going to go, by the way, from Europe? Many of them in U.S., right? And if Trump was focused on that alone, he actually had chances to succeed, I think. But because he went on a war against everybody, whole world, U.S. going to suffer now. Significant setback. And yet again, Moody's, by the way, Western rating company, is acknowledging that U.S. economy is already on the brink of recession, despite all these illusory statements or crazy statements from the U.S. leadership that hundreds of billions are pouring in, and trillions and trillions and sexillions and quintillions, by the way. U.S. economy actually on the brink of recession. That's how it is, right? And that's about it for a news segment, dear friends. Hopefully you did find it informative and useful. Right now, dear friends, I'm going to check some of the media outlets for any possible breaking news. So no breaking news on no breaking news on RIA Novosti at this point, although I find an interesting report that India might stop buying weapons and the planes from the US after US introduce additional 25% tariffs on India, and after which overall level of tariffs hit 50% for Indian goods destined to US, and India is hitting back now. And this is a big deal. I remind you, dear friends, that our friend from India, a active member of our community, Nidish Kumar, yesterday wrote that there is possibility that India might actually cancel the purchase of 200 planes from Boeing, which is a big deal, by the way. I mean, each plane costs, I don't know, 100 plus million or something. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal, right? And India is also threatening to stop purchasing weapons from US, which will not make happy US military industrial complex. So actually, India's retaliatory measures might force Washington, and very soon, by the way, very shortly, to rule back on their own decisions and to decrease level of tariffs, either up to 25% or maybe lower than that. Because this 50% tariffs is crazy, by the way. It's nonsensical, absolutely nonsensical. Also, let me check, for example, TASS News Agency for any breaking news. Okay. We have a report from TASS News Agency based on Defense Ministry that during the previous 24 hours, Kiev regime's forces lost 1,615 military personnel all along the front line. Quite significant losses, obviously. Devastating losses, I will say, for Kiev regime's troops. And yes, let me check Interfax also for potential breaking news. Russian president is conducting a meeting with the Security Council of the Federation. Probably they will discuss latest developments in regards to this Russia-US talks and potential meeting between president of Russian Federation and US president. And so, yes, they're, as I said in the beginning, by the way, it seems like they're going to be relatively slow news-wise, right? But nevertheless, I did prepare this news segment, and hopefully you did find it informative and useful. And well, now I will join the community chat. Although first, let me check if there was any donations or super chat. No, there was no super chat or any donations during the stream. So okay, let me join the community chat now. And I see Nikos is explaining to me why Putin had to have a talks with Witkov. Okay. It's not a question, isn't it? It's opinion piece, Nikos. So my understanding on the situation is quite clear. I think it's useless. It's a waste of time when the Russian president is meeting with Witkov, or when Russian president is talking to Trump. It's a pure waste of time until Western ruling class is actually ready to acknowledge objective reality and recognize that they have lost this proxy war against Russia, and only after which they will actually begin the escalating. Anything is useless, because it's a Western ruling class that is escalating constantly, isn't it? And it is a Western ruling class that is in charge of US too. So, I mean, we can talk all along every day, by the way. I mean, okay, talk for talk's sake. Is that not a waste of time? It is waste of time. Those who are commenting, if Putin meets Trump, he should remind Trump that the whole world sees Trump is a disgusting punk, bossed around by war criminal named Satanyahu. I'm right, Levan, or I'm right? Yeah, you are correct. You are correct. Trump is Trump is compromised. I think so, and I said it many times. Trump is compromised, and I think he has to be removed from office, and J.D. Vance have to take over. I really believe Trump is compromised and controlled by certain forces that are not in the service of U.S. People, right? U.S. citizens. That's what I think. And when it comes to Putin-Trump meeting, I'm still skeptical that such a meeting will take place. I already said, isn't it, that Western ruling class, by the way, globalists or whatever we're going to call them, they are still believing that they can achieve strategical defeat of Russian Federation. And as long as they are on such position, they're going to continue to escalate, right? They're going to continue to escalate. They're not going to seek peace or through the escalation. And therefore, if Trump or Putin talk will actually go ahead, if globalists will have information that, well, these people actually are meeting, and something might come out of that meeting, if there will be such a fear among Western ruling class, by the way, they will come up with their numerous number of provocations. They will do whatever it takes to derail such a meeting, right? And therefore, we should be ready that at any given point from now, because today is this Trump's ultimatum is expiring, from now and any day in the future can become day when that next phase of escalation begins. Let me say that way. I expect escalation. By the way, I expect all sorts of provocations from the West, from globalists and globalist-controlled regimes, right? And if anybody is not interested in peace right now, is globalists, right? And if they really fear that the Trump-Putin meeting may bring peace closer, they will come up with some sort of provocations and they will derail such a meeting. I think so. Dear friends, as always, capital Q or capital letters in the questions will be useful to spot the question or the comment that you want to be highlighted. I guess that's it. I guess that's it, dear friends. Sorry if I miss your question or the comment, dear friends. But we're gonna have a short video today. Okay, I just see this question, dear friends. Gene HFX is asking, Levan, do you have any updates on earthquake and eruption in Kamchatka? No, last time I monitored the information about it was that dozens and dozens of small earthquakes are happening in Kamchatka, literally on daily basis. And like few days ago, a volcano erupted. I cannot give you a name of that volcano. Now at this point, I reported about it. Volcano erupted that was sleeping for 600 days, and due to this significant activization of significant geological activization in this part of the world, well, on the internet you might find all sorts of speculations that something big is about to happen there, but I'm not an expert in the geology. I just have no knowledge to have a strong opinion on that, right? But small earthquakes are happening in dozens and dozens of small earthquakes, literally on a daily basis, and there is a significant activization of the volcans in the Kamchatka. So probably something is happening deep underground, but what exactly? And should we expect some massive earthquake again, or massive eruptions of volcanoes? I cannot tell you. And I also spot this question, dear friends. David King is commenting, recent events show USA talks means snake attacks. I have to agree with you, David. I have to agree with you. US, unfortunately, US has militarized diplomacy itself, right? Diplomacy that should be used, weaponized, and used for escalation now. And we all know that US president himself personally and his special envoy Witkoff were directly, personally engaged in a deception operation while they were having negotiations with Iran on nuclear program, isn't it? While these meetings were taking place, it was like 5 rounds of meetings that took place with the mediation of Oman, isn't it? And while this was happening, very same time, these people, Trump, Witkoff, and others from administration there, were engaged with Israelis on preparing military attack on Iran. So they actually militarized diplomacy, and therefore, how are you going to trust them? I don't know. I just don't know. It's not possible. You cannot trust, man, U.S. administration or the Western administrations in general, right? I don't think French government does any better than U.S. government in this regard. They are weaponizing diplomacy too, by the way. Germany does the same. UK does the same, right? And that's why it is becoming kind of senseless to have any talks with them, right, on a political level. Because they're going to lie to you. You know, they're going to lie to you. They're going to attempt at least to fool you, right, to cut you off guard or something. But and you also know for 100% that they are not genuine. No matter what they are telling you, what they are signing up for, they are not genuine. You cannot trust them. And this is very dangerous situation, very unfortunate and dangerous situation, but that's the reality. Also a question from NSPK77. Do you think the impending fall of Pokrovsk will cause Ukraine army to disintegrate, collapse? It might happen. It might happen, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure that liberation of Pokrovsk by Russian forces will necessarily trigger collapse and domino effect in Kyiv regime's armed forces. Many military experts are expecting something like that to happen, but I'm not yet convinced in that. And main reason for this is that Kyiv regime is still able to forcefully mobilize people. Kyiv regime still has thousands of criminals in their neo-Nazi formations that are terrorizing. On one side, troops is forcefully mobilized people. On the other side, public, right? So therefore, as long as there are still people left on Kyiv-controlled territory that can be mobilized and then thrown to trenches, I think Kyiv regime will continue to sacrifice these tens of thousands of people on monthly basis, and therefore collapse may not happen necessarily like in a month or 2 months time, and I think Pokrovsk will be liberated in this time frame. I hope I'm wrong, by the way. Hopefully, many people will wake up on Kyiv-controlled territory and refuse and become refusing to obey orders. After all, they are armed, isn't it? And they can fight back those neo-Nazi formations. So if they will make right choices, I mean, Kiev regime's this forcefully mobilized personnel, by the way, which is now 70-80% of troops that Kiev regime has, right? If those people will actually wake up and turn their weapons on their actual enemies, which is Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky and these neo-Nazi formations, then in that case, yes, defense lines obviously will collapse because how else? But will it happen after Pokrovsk will be liberated? Pokrovsk, Mirnograd agglomeration? I don't know. It might. Dear friends, let me end this live stream on that. Let me end this live stream now, dear friends. Thank you all for your questions, for your comments, for being here. Have a wonderful day, dear friends. Have a great upcoming weekend, and take care. Bye for now.